It's your girl, the Grown Woman Gamer, and today I'm coming at you to talk about what I believe the Warriors will have to do in Game 4 in order to beat the Celtics. Let's jump right into it. The first thing that I've observed in the two losses that the Warriors had, particularly this last game, is that the defensive matchups do not favor the Warriors based on the roster or the personnel that Steve Kerr is playing in these games. I said this before the series started that they should play Jonathan Kuminga. I know by playing Jonathan Kuminga, you're sitting down a better offensive player, but ultimately you need a player in the game for the large majority of the game who can guard and who has the stamina, the endurance, and the athleticism to defend Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Even a player like Damian Lee would provide you with a better defensive option. In past series, the Warriors have shot teams out of the gym. Unfortunately, they've met their match in the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics can shoot threes, not as well as the Golden State Warriors, but they can keep up. And because they have offensive options who can finish at the rim, it makes them a particularly difficult challenge for a team that's built like the Golden State Warriors. Every time I see the Golden State Warriors go into these zone defenses, I literally scream at the television because I can predict that the Boston Celtics are going to break them down by penetrating to the basket. The defense will collapse, leaving a shooter like Al Horford, Pritchard, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, or even Grant Williams open. And then that's precisely what happens, I would say, at least half of the time. So if you are doing something and it's not working for you, it's best to reevaluate. So Steve Kerr may have to make some difficult decisions about who he's going to play, who he's going to sit. And that brings me to the second factor that is extraordinarily important in this series against the Boston Celtics, and that is the play of Draymond Green. Nothing but love for Draymond Green, and I've said repeatedly that I feel that he is a brilliant basketball player, and he is the heart and soul of this Warriors team and has been since the beginning. When he's facilitating their offense and directing their defense, he is extremely valuable to this team. But because he is not an offensive weapon and they're playing against a team like Boston, one of two things, or these two things, have to happen. Number one, Draymond has to contribute on offense more than he has in previous series and in previous games in this particular series. The other thing that has to happen is that he has to be effective at an optimal level, the highest level of his skill set and ability, because if he's not contributing by putting points on the board, he has to be making every single person on the floor better, not just Stephen Curry, but Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, Otto Porter, Andrew Wiggins. If he is not doing these things, then he is not really valuable to the Golden State Warriors, and they have to consider benching him either temporarily or limiting his minutes to get in a player who can defend. And this is a challenging decision to make if you're a coach and we're dealing with a veteran player that's been along for this last almost decade of mostly success on the part of the Warriors, getting to the final 6 out of the last 8 years. But this is a different animal than any of the teams that they faced before, including the teams that were led by LeBron James. And so you may have to approach things differently. And this is the last game where you can experiment, because once you go down 3-1, at that point, you're going to have to shift into survival mode, and it's going to become harder and harder to wrap your mind around making these adjustments and experimenting within the series. Third thing that I believe the Warriors need is better play from their youthful core, particularly Jordan Poole. This is a complicated situation. Jordan Poole is such a young player, and if you watch my videos, listen to my commentaries, you know I don't have a lot of heat for these young players, because if you haven't done it before your first time, there are so many elements, both mental and physical, that go into being ready for this type of athletic challenge. And so when you have a young player, he is going to take the lead or follow behind the leader on that team. And if Draymond is not bringing the leadership, then it's not surprising that some of these auxiliary players who are significantly younger and who do not have as much experience, that they may not be rising to the occasion. Jordan Poole can't defend the large majority of the starting core that the Celtics typically play. One-on-one against Al Horford, obviously this is not an ideal matchup for him. one-on-one against Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, ideally this is not a good matchup for him. And even one-on-one against Marcus Smart, because of how crafty and strong Marcus Smart is, if he can get him in the paint, it's not an ideal matchup. So the question for Steve Kerr is, how do I utilize Jordan Poole, or do I make, again, a difficult decision and choose to play a more defensive player who can't give me as much offense, which puts more pressure on Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson, who's kind of a wild card as well. So I don't know what I would do in this case if I was Steve Kerr, but this is a winner go home situation. I know that this particular game is obviously not the game that's going to decide the series, literally, but figuratively, it is the game that will decide this series. And the decisions that Steve Kerr makes, the play of Draymond Green, the play of this younger core, the play of some of these veterans like Klay Thompson, it's all going to play a role in whether or not the Warriors win this series. That's not rocket science, but the question is, do they have enough, given everything that's involved, including the potential injury that Stephen Curry suffered in Game 3, to overcome a team that is clearly focused, more healthy, more athletic, and who's physically prepared to meet any challenge that the Golden State Warriors throws at them? I'm hoping that the Golden State Warriors win this game because I'd like to see the series go a bit longer, but unlike many people, I did choose the Boston Celtics to win this series in 7. I think I will be wrong. My gut tells me Boston will win tonight and finish the game out, or finish the series out in 6 games. Like I said, I'm rooting for the Warriors for this particular game, although my initial pick was for the Celtics to win just because I'm selfish and I'd like to see more games. But those are my thoughts. I really appreciate everybody who's been following my channel, supporting the channel. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers, guys. Subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, comment whether you agree with me or not. Don't forget to share if you care, and I'm out.